Top 10 kickers in the NFL. At number 10, we have Nick Folk. Nick Folk is a really interesting story. So he was a good kicker for the New York Jets. He leaves, heads over to Tampa Bay. He's abysmal at Tampa Bay, like awful. He's a meme. He misses multiple kicks in a game. He gets cut. They end up drafting Roberto Aguayo. That didn't work out well. Well, guess what? He resurfaces a couple years later with the Jets' rival New England Patriots. Bill Belichick loves this guy, okay? He then heads over to Tennessee. Guess what? Mike Vrabel loves this guy as well. He finally solidifies the Titans' kicking position. That was crappy. It actually tried to get fixed with a couple of guys who had pretty big names. Steven Gostkowski, that didn't really work out. And then Cairo Santos was also in the mix there. Cairo Santos, a similar kicker to Nick Folk. In today's NFL, you're going to have a guy who can kick from 60. You don't really care if he's not as automatic, but you want the potential for him to hit a 59-yarder. Nick Folk has none of that potential. I think his career long's a 56. I wouldn't trot him out there for that at this stage in his career as he hits almost 40. By the way, he's back with the team that he made a name for himself, the Jets. He also had a stint with Dallas. Automatic within 50 yards, which that's kind of not normal. All the other kickers on this list are going to have the huge legs. Nick Folk, Cairo Santos, they're two of the few kickers left that are great inside of 50, but the leg power is just not there. Nick Folk, automatic. I'm happy to see him back in New York. They could use a little bit more of a consistent guy, even if the leg's not there. They had kind of the opposite with Greg the Leg Zuerlein. Great power, just the consistency and accuracy was not always there. And yes, I am going to ramble because I am excited to make this video. At number 9, we have Ka'imi Fairbairn. This guy is one of the best kickers in NFL history from 50 plus. The Texans, they utilize him. He's a weapon. And when you have a top 10 quarterback like CJ Stroud, when healthy, I'm a little concerned about the health, you're going to like that because guess what? You get a couple first downs, you're already in scoring position. Ka'imi Fairbairn, weapon. He comes in at 9. At 8, we have Jake Bates, and this is a guy who is a great story. He plays for the Michigan Panthers. He makes a couple of 60-yarders. Guess what? We're going to keep him at Ford Field. Dan Campbell signed him. He won the job. I like him wearing 39, too. It's unique, whatever. I kind of dig it. The only players that I can think of that wore 39, I can think of 3 at the top of my head. Steven Jackson, one of the more underrated running backs. Minkah Fitzpatrick, obviously, and another former Steeler, Fast Willie Parker. Jack Bates, this is a guy, the leg talent's incredible. We could see him climb. At 7, we have a nice little combination of power and consistency, Will Lutz. I remember when this guy beat the Texans back when he was a Saint in overtime, and there was like a misspelling of his name because there's only one L, which is unique for the name Will, and he said the other L I gave to the Texans. Bar. Will Lutz, awesome. I love when coaches bring their former players. The Saints, obviously, Sean Payton moves to Denver. He brings Will Lutz with him. I'm really kind of hoping that Taysom Hill goes to Denver eventually as well. We're now a couple of regimes past Sean Payton. How much longer does Taysom Hill have in New Orleans? That's something that I don't really think people are talking about. At 6, we have Jason Sanders. Not the strongest leg, but this guy's automatic. He's also been in Miami for a long freaking time at this point. Entering the top 5, Dan Carlson has had a couple of down years, but he's another one with an interesting story. He was a 5th-round draft pick out of Auburn by the Vikings, flames out there, heads over to Vegas, and just happens to have a few 90% kicking seasons. Unheard of, ridiculous. This guy's a monster, also has the leg power. The Raiders arguably have the best specialists in the game, and it's been that way for the last few years. One of the few bright spots on the Raiders personnel. I'm hoping Daniel Carlson's younger brother, Anders, who recently flamed out with the Packers, I'm hoping there's a... All right, before my phone overheated and rudely interrupted me, Anders Carlson, same thing. Had an awful start with an NFC North team. I'm hoping he gets a second chance elsewhere and is a tremendous player because I like stories like that. I like Younghoe Koo, another one, awful with the Chargers. The Chargers couldn't figure out the kicking position. Nate Kading was good there for a while. Not in clutch moments, but he was good. John Carney was there. Nick Novak was okay. After Nick Novak, they were terrible. They've got it figured out now, which leads me to Dicker the kicker. This guy's awesome. And Chargers fans, and listen, I only know that Chargers fans exist because they think Cameron Dicker is the second coming of Jesus Christ. This guy's awesome, has a pretty good leg. Not as strong of a leg as some of the other guys in this top 10, but still very good. And I believe the stats, he can miss like the next 3 and he'll be the most accurate kicker in NFL history. That's awesome. It sounds amazing. There are so many kickers right now where that's the case, though. What's his name? Zane Gonzalez, I think, had somebody in Carolina. I forget if it was Zane Gonzalez or somebody else. I don't think, because Zane was with Washington. Somebody had Eddie Pinheiro, I think, was the guy. Boswell's been close. Whatever. It means you're good. But a lot of kickers are very close to being the most accurate kicker in NFL history. Dicker the kicker, though, tremendous. I love this guy. At number 3, we have Brandon Aubrey. I mean, I just got accused of being a Cowboys fan. Now I'm probably going to be accused of being a Cowboys hater. A couple of seasons ago, we saw a run that was ridiculous between how strong of a leg this guy had and how he just wasn't missing a thing. He's still very good. There are just 2 guys right now that I would take over him. Brandon Aubrey, I would say one of the 2 strongest legs, I would say. A little bit of a hint at my number 1. At number 2, we have the Wizard of Oz, Chris Boswell. This guy has been living in everybody's shadows, and I don't think people realize how good he is. The team has talked about him like he is just a psychopath. He does not talk to anybody. He doesn't smile. All he does is kick game winners. He's clutch. His leg has gotten a lot better. He's kicking those 59-yarders now. In addition to that, the dude's money. He was the best kicker in the NFL last year. I get it. There were other guys. Brandon Aubrey was still good. Dicker the kicker was tremendous. Chris Boswell was the best kicker last year, and it really wasn't close. At number 1, we have one of the more controversial kickers, Harrison Butker, due to his views on marriage, religion, all that. You do you. I don't care. Bottom line is, this guy's money. He is so freaking good. The former Georgia Tech kicker, he was actually brought in, I think, initially by Carolina after finishing his collegiate career at Georgia Tech. Carolina let him walk. That was a mistake. I think it was that Joey Sly. I think Joey Sly beat this guy out, if I remember correctly. He heads over to Kansas City because they needed a kicker at the time. Never looked back. When people talk about the Chiefs dynasty, Andy Reid, Mahomes, Kelsey, all 3 of those guys are arguably the GOATs at their positions. Chris Jones, also a future Hall of Famer. The offensive lineman, Joe Thuney, probably a future Hall of Famer. Tyrann Mathieu, all those guys. Harrison Butker needs to be brought up. This dude's crazy. I think Butker has the strongest leg in the NFL. What he's able to do as a kicker in a pretty hard kicking element in Kansas City in the snow, tremendous. Harrison Butker is the best kicker in the NFL, if you asked me. I do think that it's really close between the top 4 guys and Daniel Carlson. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a crazy year where he bounces back into that conversation as well. The top 4, I think that they're close to interchangeable. I am going to go Harrison Butker, though.